My name is Ramesh. And for the people who know me, I'm still Ramesh. So what I'm going to do now is, it's been 24 hours since we got to this room. We had that lovely video that came up, and then we spoke about synergizing ASPL and iValue. Can I get all the ASPL folks to stand up, please? So fortunately, I have some people after lunch at least coming here from ASPL. So here's what we're going to do. We spoke synergy, we spoke about how iValue is going to work together. We're going to be selling their services, we're going to put this all together. If that's the case, it has to start now. We need to be sitting together with the iValue folks. So can we get everybody to stand up? All of us to stand up. Every table needs to have a mix of iValue folks and ASPL folks in a table. Can we get that going? This is synergy. We start here. We spoke for 24 hours. The leadership teams of both ASPL as well as iValue request you to please go and sit in those tables where there are ASPL folks as well. We've got to get the leadership teams to also move. And there are a lot of rows available in the front.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you swap the places, don't forget that you have place in the front. You are again going back and settling down behind. Please come and sit in the front.
If synergy is right, can we get the leadership team also to look at getting this synergy happening? Karis, can we get a couple of people from ASPL to sit with you? Sunil,
Please.
can we get a couple of people from ASPL to sit with you?
Please sit in the
Why
front.
are we waiting when we're talking synergy, when we're
Team.
talking about people to be together?
You just
and if we've been talking
got
about
up
all
and
of
went
what was
behind.
happening, the first thing that we need to do at least is to sit together. We actually got a building in Bangalore where we got all of this happening, right? And I'm going to do a check. I'm going to do a reality check in terms of, if this mix has happened. You don't have anybody. Umesh, you need to figure out. All done, all settled? All good? Okay, can we have all the iValue guys to stand up, please? All the iValue folks to stand up, please. And we're going to do a reality check in terms of you have at least one or two ASPL folks with you. Yes? All right then. You don't have somebody there? Calvin, here you don't have. Okay. Anyway, the spirit of it, please sit down. The spirit of it is all about, if you're running a program, we are talking about two organizations working together. Basics are in terms of, at least interacting with each other and, being there together in terms of, taking the relationship forward. Just a brief introduction about myself. I live in Singapore. I've been in Singapore for 23 years. Basically come from a distribution background. Been with iValue for 2 years. Been a great success in terms of whatever I've learned. I've got some great learnings, and my understanding of the security business has definitely gotten a lot better. Also, the fact that I did mention during the session as well, saying that this is one company which has taught me how to make more money. Right? So, having said all of this, I'm going to talk a little bit about numbers. Generally, I'm not a number guy. I never talk about numbers. KRS is all about numbers. I don't know if it's an oxymoron between the two of us, but we'll try and figure that out somewhere. But the rev up, right? The rev up is what we were talking about. So we're talking about getting it from the 0 gear to the 5th gear. That's what we're looking at. And fortunately, Shrikant, because I saw your presentation, we could at least put something up here. Right? Um, one of the things that I've always realized, right, as much as we talk about all these numbers, there's so much of pressure, there's so much of work that happens, everybody's putting everything together and building it up, we fail to actually recognize each other, right, as people. And therefore, it's very important, right, in this group of people, at least turn to your person next to you and say, job well done. Because, for the kind of work that everybody has done, I think at least the smallest that you can do to each other is in terms of saying job well done, because most times we are clapping for each other. We come here, we stand up and we're clapping, but we think we're clapping for somebody else. In fact, you're actually clapping back to your own selves for the kind of work that you've put in. It's not about one person leading that makes this happen. It's about the team that makes it happen. So can we just quickly just tell each other, great job, well done to everybody? The spirit. Brilliant. So Nadeem, if you can get to the next slide, please. Thanks. So I'm going to talk about that. So the idea is this: now that you've all told well done, now it's time to say well done to me. I'm going to talk about the numbers. Right? So we'll quickly run up the numbers for the last year. Like what we were talking about, we started about 24 months ago, but actively engaged the market for about 18 months. And within these 18 months, a few things that we need to understand is that there's a community that needs to understand that, we are there and we're going to do business. Two is people are looking at that consistency that you're bringing to the table in terms of the kind of engagement that you're doing, right? So the first year was slightly topsy-turvy in that sense, but then that's how it happens, when you start an operation. It's never going to be that very easy. But second year, we've done very well. And I'm very happy to say that, we've done 3x growth, which is almost about 300% growth. I have to thank the team. Unfortunately, my team is not here with me, but then you are my team, so I would request all of you to clap for them because they've done a lot of work. Some of my teammates are here anyway. Having done this 3x, the idea is to make sure that there's no flash in the pan, right? So what we've also done is we've actually grown 100% on our transactions as well. So whatever transactions we did last year in FY22 to FY23, what does that mean? It means that we are engaging more in the market with the channel, and we're also billing more with them, and we're billing multiple times with them, right? So that brings to the next thing in terms of the profit. We've achieved 100% of our numbers that we've committed, right? We could have done more. The aspirations are always more. But then in certain countries, we actually did double-digit profits. Right? So our GMs are very strong. If there was something that I felt that we should be doing better is in terms of our channel reach, in terms of what we're doing. We've grown. Okay, I'll have to talk about this. You'll love this, Shrikant. 89 certifications in the last 1 year. And just to add to that 89 certifications, we've got about 19 sales certifications as well. So in any business, and this is something that, Rajesh Jani was talking during the board meeting in terms of, you've done well, tell us why did you do well? And if you were to point, in terms of what is it that we did well, this is one of those things that we did very well. Because unless and otherwise you don't go back to the market and say that you are also skilled and you're also equipped, they aren't going to be talking to you, right? In Asia iValue, we work with 26 OEMs, vendors. Out of these 26 OEMs and vendors, about 19 of them, we have 70% plus wallet share. Furthermore, 17 of them we have 100% wallet share. And some of the OEMs who were not present in that market have actually seen 3x, 4x growth just because iValue was there. And of course, we've done 30% more billing to our channel partners, right? Why this becomes important is because of the fact that we started getting more and more accreditations in terms of the kind of products that we can sell into the market, and we've also been able to build a bigger base. Key things, and I'll have to applaud Ghaffar for his effort. We've actually grown 4.5 times, 4.5x in Bangladesh last year. Not only top line, but bottom line as well. Then if I were to talk about Sri Lanka went through a very, very difficult time. KRS mentioned this as well. And we actually called on our numbers, right? But what one would see is that when every other vendor or every other distributor which is finding it difficult to do business, we actually grew. And our profits grew. The biggest challenge there was that, would you be able to, and one of our concerns also was, how much should we engage in that market, because would our monies come back? And it goes back to that conversation saying quote to cash. I'm very happy to tell you, we just have 1% in Sri Lanka. We ended the year with no overdue payments. Right? It goes to show the kind of responsibility that people start taking in terms of what they do and how they conduct business, and that's very important as an organization for us to look at. There's one other point which I felt, and I still need to talk about two gentlemen who are there here with us, Anirudh and Rajesh. I think the kind of work that we've done in terms of the turnaround time, in terms of our orders, has been phenomenal. From the time we've received an order from a partner, we have loaded that order in 24 hours. It's just that we've not loaded back the order in terms of, because we haven't received the invoice from the vendor, he's taken another 24 hours. So in effect, in 48 hours, we've been able to do it, and there has been no problem with any of the bombs or anything. 100% accuracy. Similarly, Sendil is here, Swaroop is here, Irfan is here. Because of Rajesh, we've been able to collect all our claims from our vendors. All MDFs, all rebates, all in. Except for one, everything in. So when we ended the year, we ended with everything in order. That kind of gives the beauty of, how well you're able to build a business around, right? And that starts building the scale. So now I'll run up a little into the theme. So we talk about accelerate, we've been talking about full throttle. How many of you understand F1? Most people, when you talk F1, they talk about speed. Right? And speed is important, because if you don't get the speed right, you're never going to be in the race. But you would also realize a few other things. It's just not about speed. So every turn that comes, you have to rev down and rev up again. And when you're doing that, you should be very careful that you don't rev it up too much, because the engine bursts. Right? That's not all, right? You talk about the tires. You have the power, you have the engine, you have everything with you, but if you run it up too hard, you're going to burn your tires. What does this mean? It's about conserving your energies and being able to be smart in the way you drive your car to be able to reach the finish line. Forget winning, that's a different conversation by itself. But the ability to run those 50 laps with the kind of speed that it is, right, and being able to be there at the finish line is probably the first victory already. Then it becomes tactical, then it becomes more of strategy. It again becomes about what that engine is all about and how fast that whole group of people are able to change those tires, the one which you showed in the visit. So, in my view, when we are looking to accelerate, we want to keep all of these things in mind when we're doing it, so that we don't end up revving up too much. At the same time, we're not ending up, burning our tires. So the way I call it the aspirations, simply because of the fact that I want to be real about what we can do, right? But the aspirations have to be to the point where we know that we can get there. So as part of what I think that we should be able to do next year, we're looking at growing 100% over this year. That's one goal that we want to take. We want to see how we can get there, right? Grow our transactions by 100%. That's something that we want to do. We want to increase maintain our percentage of margins. I think we've done good margins last year, and I think if we can maintain that with the growth, I think we're doing fine, because that engagement remains with us, and we know that the channel partners are still attached with us, right? And the idea is that 89 plus 20, whatever that is, this 89 has to become 150 certifications, and this is very key to us. Because if we are able to get these certifications in place, pre-sales, post-sales, connect with the customer, the ability to bring the wallet share back to us is very important. We want to maintain our wallet share with our current OEMs, one of which we are looking at is in terms of adding more vendors, because I do believe that when you start adding more vendors, you are able to bring scale much faster. Fortunately, because we are engaging the market very well right now, I would think that as we add some strategic vendors into the whole thing, I would tend to believe that we would drive it up much more. From the 30% growth that we've had of last year, we want to grow additional 30% on our channel partner reach, simply because of the fact that we do believe that a spread of business definitely helps. And more often than not, quote to cash is a great conversation to have, something that works for us. Right? And geographical expansions, we are in the process of having conversations. So there are two kind of strategies that we're looking at. One is going deep in the existing markets, as well as looking at certain places where we do believe if there is a huge anti-incumbency factor, then we want to be in those countries being able to drive the business as well. So that's what we're looking at achieving. As part of growing the team, we are looking at measured approach in terms of how we want to grow our team. Again, depending on the kind of sign-ups that we want to do, we also will start looking at building the team as well. So that brings me to this whole conversation of excellence. I'm not going to talk numbers anymore. I'm done with my numbers. Excellence. What does excellence mean to you? I'll pause for a moment. I'll ask this question again. What does excellence mean to you? And I'll give you a very interesting story while you're thinking about this. On 31st of March, when we finished the year, I sent out an email to my team talking about excellence. And when I did see the mail that Shrikant had sent to the team in India, spoke about excellence. So the question again is, what does excellence mean to you? The next question is, does excellence really matter? Right. So I'm going to run a quick video, go through it, and then I'll come back and ask some very pertinent questions.
Excellence will cost you what mediocrity will save you. Excellent people will conquer what average people will complain about. Most of the people who don't get ahead in life don't because they're too busy complaining about why they can't get ahead in life. But an excellent person conquers the things average people complain about. Excellent people pursue solutions. Average people stare at problems. Excellence orchestrates in the mind, translates into speech, and demonstrates in your life. You don't have to ask a person if they are excellent. You can tell by the way they dress. You can tell by the way they talk to you. You can tell by the way they organize what's around them. You can tell by the way they order their words when they speak. Excellence is not imposed from the outside. It is released from the inside. If you and I are going to be effective leaders, and if we're going to inspire people to be excellent, they are going to have to see it in our mindset, our demonstration of life, and in our speech. Excellent people make improvements, not excuses. So here are the principles of excellence that every human should know. Number one, don't settle for the average. Do not settle for the average. Average is the grave in which excellence is buried. Average people strive to fit in, while excellent people strive to stand out. You can never change what you accept. You can never change what you refuse to confront. If you keep pretending that mediocrity is your best, then you will never proceed to excellence. You were not born to be an average person. This, therefore, is the challenge. We need to inspire people to not settle even when they seem to be successful. As a matter of fact, the greatest enemy of progress is your last success. When you settle on what you've done and believe you've achieved everything, you have just begun to die. Excellent people never settle for the average. Develop a deep commitment to excellence. You will never be excellent until you decide that this is the lifestyle you will have. Develop a deep commitment to excellence. First, you should be the best, then you will be first. In business, everybody's trying to be first in the market, but that's the wrong pursuit. Excellent people don't try to be first. They try to be excellent. Michelangelo one day was painting the Sistine Chapel, and you all know the story of Michelangelo, the most awesome painting in Rome. People travel all over the world to see this man's painting, and you know what Michelangelo did, right? He lay on his back on a scaffold and he painted the entire ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. It's the most beautiful, awesome artwork in Rome, an awesome work. One day, the story goes, it's a true story, that Michelangelo was painting and one of his aides came in to check on him. When he walked into the chapel, there were candles everywhere. It was dark and musty. Michelangelo could not be seen. And so his friend and colleague cried out, "Michael!" He heard no sound. "Michael, are you here?" He heard some noise in the corner, in the dark, behind a post, up above the nave, in the secret corner where no one could see. "Michael!" And he heard a voice from way in the back, underneath the scaffold, behind the post, up above the ledge, in the dark corner of the chapel. And the answer came, "Yes, I'm busy." And the aide came and walked up and looked up in the darkness behind the post, way behind the rafters, and there's Michelangelo on his back with a painting brush in his teeth, one in his hand on his palette, and he is painting the feathers of one of the little angels in the dark behind the post where no one will ever see. His colleague said, "Michael, what are you doing up there?" He said, "I'm painting the ceiling." He said, "But Michael, you are putting details on the feather, on the wings of an angel in the dark, behind the post, above the nave, beyond the rafters, where no one will ever see it. Why waste your time?" And without catching a breath, Michelangelo spoke through the brush in his teeth and said, "But God sees it." He keeps on painting. What a spirit of excellence. An excellent spirit does not work because people are watching. It doesn't work because it will be known. Excellence comes from a spirit, an attitude on the inside. See, Michael was not working for the observation of people. He had an integrity with himself. He believed that everything he did should be the best he ever done, even if no one ever saw it. A person of excellence will always possess these two things: ethics and integrity. You see, your gift will carry you where your character won't keep you. Ethics are moral standards grounded in principles that govern your beliefs and convictions. Ethics are mental attitudes based on beliefs that control your behavior. What you believe manifests how you behave. Integrity is integration of your words with your behavior. What you say and do are supposed to be consistent if you are a person of integrity. An excellent spirit is a spirit of what? Integrity. Excellence produces trust. Why? Because people watch what you say and to see if it equals what you do before they trust you. True leaders are people who cause others to trust them because they say what they mean and they mean what they say. If you're going to be a person of excellence in leadership, you must integrate your words with your action. If you promise someone you're going to give them a call, give them the call. If you promise someone you're going to meet with their group, then do all in your power to show up and be at that meeting. Because excellence is integrity. What you say is what you do, and what you do is what you say. Go the second mile. Excellence is manifested in people who are not afraid of doing their best. Responsibility is greater than rights. Give more than you take from life. Go the second mile. How many people do you know they only do what you ask them to do? An excellent spirit always goes beyond the call of duty and beyond the assignment. An excellent spirit does not do just because you were told, but it does because it believes and it acts. Go the second mile for excellence. Be consistent. Nothing is as frustrating as an inconsistent human. You know a few of them, don't you? You're probably sitting in their shoes right now. An excellent person sets high standards for themselves. Be consistent. People forget how fast you do a job, but never how good. Be consistent in your performance. Always do a job the best you can. Always manifest the excellency of your attitude in everything you do. Be consistent. Never stop improving. Excellence is a spirit that is never satisfied. A person of excellence may be impressed by what they've done, but never satisfied with what they've done. They are constantly improving. Excellence is the gradual result of striving to be better. Excellence is constantly growing. If you grow, everything will get better. Ignorance is the greatest enemy of man. Knowledge is his best friend. So the less you know, the more you are confused about life. The more you learn, the more simple life becomes. When you stop learning, you start losing. When you stop growing, you start dying. Always give 100%. Make excellence a lifestyle. Do it right the first time, all the time. Mediocrity is a personal trait. Excellence is a choice, like attitude. You choose to be excellent.
Two words that defines us: ethics and integrity. Excellence is not about believing you're the best. It's actually about achieving to get better. Right? Think about this. If I'm a perfectionist, what does it drive you to? It's a personality trait. If you have a great attitude, it builds a great environment for one and all. But if you pursue excellence, it's about credibility. What is credibility? Credibility is reputation. Your reputation in the market. I value reputation in the market. So, all that we need to do, as much as you've heard through a number of these presentations, if in some way or the other, we can start inculcating this small habit called excellency, being excellent about what we want to do, being honest to ourselves, this group will go much faster, much better than whatever we're expecting to do. It's an organization which I do believe, which I've seen over the last 2 years, there's a lot of great work that's happening in this organization. And when I look at some of the numbers that Shrikant had presented, you see a sense of excellence in things that has happened, because you don't grow because you're just growing. If that was the case, you would just put one block and be done with it. I probably felt that you had about 9 blocks. And 9 blocks means that, there is excellence everywhere, which is why you've achieved what you've achieved. Right? Similar to what we have presented at AGI Value in terms of the blocks that we believe in. But as an organization, it's a culture of excellence that needs to be brought in. Simple things that he said. promised to call, please call. If you said you will show up, please show up. And you do not need to be monitored by somebody if you have your own ethics and your own integrity. Completed 30 minutes. Thank you so much.